Good morning, everyone. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Welcome to what I call my morning musings. Enjoying a second, third, or fourth cup of coffee here. I appreciate you being with me. Thanks again for all of the kind emails that I've been receiving, indicating that these morning musings are a tremendous help to you in your journey to the full preterist view of eschatology. And some of the viewers wrote to me and asked me if I would respond to Hal Lindsey, who is currently, at the time of this, producing a series in his television program attacking preterism that he calls replacement theology. Now, I have a whole lot to say about replacement theology in a later segment. But of course, Hal Lindsey, a whole lot of his emphasis is on the land promise. We've already examined how God promised the land to Israel forever, but what forever means. And I promised you in the last segment that I would examine a topic that is almost totally ignored in the entire discussion of the land promises. You don't see and you don't hear and you do not read dispensationalists discussing this issue. I have raised this issue in formal public debate. I've raised it in written debate. And I will say this as kindly as possible. I have yet to see or hear or to read a dispensationalist that has any kind of an answer for it. And that's this. In Genesis 17:12 and following, God established His covenant with Abraham. And He gave circumcision, physical circumcision, as a sign and a seal and as an everlasting covenant between Himself and Abraham and his descendants. Now, there's that word everlasting. And oh, by the way, our dispensational friends don't believe that physical circumcision is binding today. Whoops, something that was everlasting has ended. Okay? But here's the point. When Yahweh gave circumcision as an everlasting covenant to Abraham, we see the relationship of that covenant to the land in Joshua chapter 5. Here Joshua is ready to lead the children of Israel into the promised land. But you know, a generation has arisen that were not circumcised. What happened? They could not enter the land. Physical circumcision was, if I may use the terminology, a sign and a seal of the title deed, if you please, of the land. Joshua 5 makes it clear. No circumcision, no land. So when we come to the New Testament and we read Paul saying that for those in Christ, circumcision does not avail one thing. And when we read Paul saying that Torah, the law of Moses, which had subsumed and incorporated the Abrahamic promise into it, i.e. the law of circumcision, and when Paul says that Mosaic covenant was now, quote, ready to vanish away, Hebrews 8:13, is it any wonder that the Jews saw the implications and hated Paul with a passion? Paul was essentially saying, when he taught against physical circumcision and said that not only for those entering Christ had it become invalid for them, but now saying that the covenant itself was ready to vanish away, Paul was essentially saying, land promises fulfilled. And oh, by the way, that means they were fulfilled spiritually. God's physical covenant with Abraham, God's physical covenant with Israel, that title deed symbol was being abolished by God Himself in Christ Jesus, where circumcision is now of the heart. Well, if circumcision is now of the heart, i.e. spiritual circumcision, and it corresponds, it's the antitype of the old physical circumcision. Okay, physical circumcision gave title deed to the physical land. Now we have spiritual circumcision, which gives title deed to what kind of a land? The land that Abraham truly looked for. A heavenly city and a heavenly country. Hebrews chapter 11, 11 to 16. I want to tell you what, folks. When Hal Lindsey says Israel has a right to the land, he is either seeking to impose the Mosaic law, and if so, he's denying Christ. This is pretty serious stuff. Hey, thanks for joining me for this morning's musings. We will have more to say in response to Hal Lindsey, but that'll be on Monday. Lord willing, nothing happens, and if my technology is not out of office. So, again, thanks for joining me for this morning's musings. Hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you on the flip side.